Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is episode 8 in our series tracing the complete roadmap for scaling digital capital. We've spent the last 7 deep dives moving from concept to reality.
We've built the foundations, designed the workers, the whole infrastructure.
Right, so the digital factory is built, we've
Right.
hired the digital workforce, and now comes that inevitable moment.
The moment the chief financial officer walks in and asks that single most important and, often the most damaging question.
Exactly. They look at this massive investment, all this new intelligence, and they just ask, did AI save us money?
And that's it. You've built all this new capacity and suddenly you're being judged by, well, by a really reductionist metric.
And that question, because it's focused purely on cost, is where a lot of these big AI initiatives they get derailed.
It's completely the wrong frame of reference.
Yep.
I mean, if you're only measuring by cost reduction, you are missing the biggest insight. The much, much better question is, what can we now do that we couldn't afford to do before?
So it's a CEO question versus a CFO question. The CEO is asking about capacity gained.
And the CFO is asking about cost reduced. And look, both are valid perspectives.
Sure, but if you measure AI only by cutting costs,
Yeah.
it's it's like measuring a brand new factory only by whether it reduced headcount on the floor.
You're ignoring the exponential capacity gain it gives you.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to shift that mindset from the traditional return on investment, the ROI.
To a return on efficiency, the ROE framework. It's about learning to quantify the value of capacity, not just the value of cost avoidance.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we have to start with the macro picture because the sheer scale of this shift, it really sets the stage for why thinking in terms of capacity is, well, it's non-negotiable.
The statistics are almost hard to believe. You look at research from the International Labor Organization at the World Economic Forum, they're saying 42% of current jobs have significant AI exposure.
And significant exposure. What does that mean in practice?
It means that for those jobs, 50% or more of the actual tasks could be automated or augmented by AI systems that exist today.
That's the key part today. This isn't some far-off future tech. And the sources point out that for, what, a quarter of U.S. employment?
25%, yeah. For 25% of jobs, current AI could handle somewhere between 90 and 99% of the work required. It's a massive efficiency gain just sitting there.
And that translates directly to the balance sheet.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Studies that track organizations using generative AI show, on average, something like a 25% labor cost savings.
And that's just the average. The range can be huge, right? From like 10% to over 50%.
Exactly. But here's the critical distinction, and this is where you have to reframe the conversation for that CFO. We're talking about augmentation, not replacement.
Right. The source material is really clear on this. Only about 1% of jobs are fully automatable right now.
The whole point of these investments is to shift the low-value, repetitive tasks away from expensive human labor and onto cheap, reliable synthetic workers. You judge this investment not by next quarter's headcount.
But like you would any other piece of infrastructure, you judge it by the throughput it provides over years.
That's it. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the macro numbers are abstract. We need proof.
We need concrete examples that show these efficiency gains actually deliver real-world capacity. The book gives 3 really powerful ones.
Let's start with Siemens Energy, a classic manufacturing problem: quality control. They used AI to analyze X-ray images of their components.
Okay, sounds pretty standard.
Yeah.
But the results were not standard at all.
Not at all. They reduced the number of X-ray tests they needed by 30%. But, and this is the part that sells it, they maintained a 100% quality rate.
So efficiency didn't come at the cost of perfection.
Exactly. And that efficiency gain translated directly into freed up capital. They needed 30% fewer tests, so they freed up $555,000 that was just tied up in inspection equipment.
So they got the same perfect quality, but with less infrastructure, less time, and less capital tied up. That's capacity.
That is capacity realized. It's a powerful financial argument.
Okay, let's shift gears. Case 2. Colgate-Palmolive. This is all about predictive capability.
Right. They used AI to predict equipment failure on their manufacturing line. And, well, it worked. The AI predicted a motor failure before it became, catastrophic.
And that intervention saved 192 hours of unplanned downtime. And that's where the hidden costs are, right? In the unplanned stuff.
That's where they explode. Because 192 hours isn't just about paying a mechanic. That saved downtime prevented the loss of 2.8 million units of product.
2.8 million. Wow.
The direct cost to fix the motor was maybe $39,000, which seems small. But what's the value of not disrupting your entire supply chain, your customer relationships?
That's the real win. The value is in the reliability. In knowing your throughput is predictable, that's capacity you can actually count on.
Exactly. So our third case is about knowledge work. It's IBM's internal productivity numbers.
And they deployed a whole suite of AI and automation systems across the entire organization.
The number they reported is just astronomical. They saved 3.9 million hours of employee time in 1 year.
Okay, that is a staggering number. And I know the immediate reaction from a CFO hearing that is, great, so where did we cut 2,000 people?
And that's the point the book is so careful to make. It wasn't headcount reduction. It was headcount redeployment.
So those millions of hours were redirected to what IBM called more challenging, rewarding, and impactful work.
Which, of course, raises the big management challenge.
Yeah.
How do you actually audit that? How do you make sure those 3.9 million hours didn't just become slightly longer coffee breaks?
That's a whole other deep dive. But it connects back to the main point. We have to stop calling this AI spend.
Yes, you have to call it capacity investment.
It's just like the factory analogy. You don't measure a new factory on whether it made a profit this quarter. You measure it by what it's capable of producing.
Its throughput, its scale, its reliability. You don't measure a warehouse by immediate revenue. You measure by how much inventory it can handle.
And AI is digital capacity, so it's measured by output, efficiency, error rates, not just immediate ROI.
This brings up that common mistake people make. They measure the tool, not the application of the tool. It's like buying a gym membership.
Right. The membership itself doesn't make you fit.
The membership is the spend, but the value only comes from going to the gym, from the deployment. The value is in using the capacity you bought, not just owning the subscription.
Okay, so if we accept this philosophical shift from cost-cutting to capacity creation, we need a way to measure it. And that brings us to the ROE framework, return on efficiency.
Right, and it measures digital capital across 5 specific dimensions. Number 1 is efficiency. This is the classic one, time saved.
So the metric here is what?
Simple. If a process took 4 hours before, and now with AI it takes 40 minutes, that's an 83% efficiency gain. You're freeing up over 3 hours of human capacity for every single task.
Okay, so you track things like tasks per hour, time to completion, easy enough. What's dimension 2?
Dimension 2 is quality. This goes beyond just speed. It's about error reduction, accuracy, consistency. The Siemens case is the perfect example.
Because they got faster and maintained 100% quality.
Exactly. So the metric is, did your defect rate drop from 3% to 0.5%? That's a quality improvement that might be physically impossible to get just by adding more people.
Got it. Dimension 3.
Through a SPEWA.
Yeah.
This is just the absolute volume you can now handle. What's your new capacity ceiling?
So if my team can now handle 3 times the customer requests with the same number of people.
You've tripled your throughput. It's about requests, processed, tickets closed, whatever your unit of work is.
Okay. Dimension 4 is capability. This feels like the really interesting one.
It is. It's also the hardest one to put a dollar value on immediately. Capability is about the entirely new things you can now do.
Things that were just too expensive or too complex before.
Right. How do you tell your CFO what that's worth? If your synthetic researcher can analyze 100 RIF documents in an hour, when a human could only do 10 in a week, that's a massive capability expansion. It opens up entirely new revenue streams that weren't even on the table before.
Okay, and finally, dimension 5 is costes, the familiar one.
It's still there. You track it. Direct savings, cost avoidance, like avoiding hiring those 3 contractors, which saves you $450,000 a year.
But the key is that you use the whole ROE framework to show that the investment delivered, say, 4 times more value in capacity, quality, and throughput than it did in just pure cost savings.
That's the winning argument.
So that framework gives us the language, but we still need the math to win the budget. You call this the envelope test.
The envelope test is my favorite part because it's so simple. The rule is, if you can't calculate the value of an AI system on the back of a napkin, you don't understand the problem well enough to justify it.
Huh. I like that. So you need clear before and after math. Let's run a calculation. Time savings. First, can you define loaded hourly cost?
Sure. Loaded cost isn't just salary. It's the full cost to the company benefits, taxes, overhead, office space. It's usually about 1.5 to 2 times the raw salary. It's the true cost of an hour of human time.
Got it. So let's use the example from the book.
Okay. Imagine a new AI tool saves each of your 50 engineers 3 hours a week. Their loaded cost is, let's say, $75 an hour.
So 50 engineers times 3 hours is 150 hours a week, times $75. That's over $11,000 a week.
Per week. Over a year, that's $585,000 in freed-up capacity value. Now, the AI system costs you $100,000.
Your return is almost 6x. That's a number you can take to anyone. That napkin math is irrefutable.
But then we also need the capacity calculation because we're not firing those engineers, right? We're redeploying them.
Exactly.
So the capacity formula measures that redirectable value. Right. You take the number of full-time equivalents, or FTEs, times the percentage of their work that's automated times their loaded annual cost.
Okay, so let's say an AI agent automates 40% of the work for a team of 10 people, and each person has a loaded cost of $60,000 a year.
That's $240,000 in redirectable capacity. You haven't fired 4 people. You freed up the equivalent of 4 FTEs to work on higher value stuff.
Which, if you're smart, you immediately leverage into more throughput or new capabilities.
If management is ready to deploy it. And to do that, you need a very tight dashboard. You need to track a few key metrics every single week, not every quarter.
What are they?
4 things. 1, tasks completed by AI agents. That shows adoption. 2, human hours redirected. That's your efficiency gain. 3, error and revision rate. That tracks quality. And 4, time to completion. That tracks speed.
Those 4 trends tell the whole economic story.
They tell it better than any single dollar figure can.
So you have the metrics, you have the math. The last piece for credible economics is the scaling strategy. You have to avoid premature scaling.
It's the classic mistake. The path has to be rigorous. Test, validate, demonstrate, and then scale.
Start small.
Start with the low-hanging fruit. Manual, repetitive things like data entry or report generation. Places where the math is crystal clear.
And your tests have to have clear metrics from that ROE framework. You can't just run a pilot that feels more efficient.
No. You have to define success up front. We need to see a 47% reduction in time to first response with no increase in escalations. If you don't hit it, you stop and reevaluate.
I think you validate.
You validate before you claim victory. Is it sustainable? Did you create some hidden downstream problem that won't show up for 6 months?
And only once it's validated, you demonstrate the results, using the dashboard metrics and the envelope test math with real numbers.
And that's when you commit serious resources. You're scaling based on evidence, not on hope.
It's a complete framework for thinking about the business value of intelligence.
It is, and it all boils down to 3 governing principles.
Okay, let's summarize them. 1, stop asking about cost. Start asking about capacity and capability.
2, measure your return on efficiency across all 5 of those dimensions: efficiency, quality, throughput, capability, and yes, cost.
And 3, follow that rigorous 4-step path. Test, validate, demonstrate, then scale.
Exactly. The economics show you what this new intelligence is worth. But managing all this new capacity requires ironclad control. You've just exponentially scaled your capability.
And capability expansion without governance is just liability.
Extreme liability. What happens when your new synthetic workers operating autonomously go rogue and create some kind of novel catastrophic risk?
We've figured out how to justify the value and get the budget. But next time, we have to tackle Governance 2.0, the brakes you need for this incredible new engine. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you then.